the whole way that I got involved with being a cannabis activist is, I found an organization I could volunteer with, which is NC Normal. And I'm not the spokesperson for NC Normal. I'm a volunteer just like anybody else, but they have a lot of ideals that are close to my heart, and I do want to support them. And that's where we came up with the idea for the PSA campaign that we're doing, because we're about to make history. And I haven't told a lot of people this, aside from my followers on social media that have been helping with the campaign. We're about to make history on July 18th by filming the first ever pro-cannabis PSA that's, to my knowledge, ever been done, at least on the East Coast of the USA. And I keep thinking of like the old ones that they would use in the 80s and the 90s, to give us so much misinformation, like that this is your brain on drugs. There was that weird video of the girl melting into the couch that went around for a while. We're taking those tools that have been used to keep us oppressed, and we're turning them on our oppressors now by creating a PSA that shows cannabis use in a positive light. We have a showcase of people that make North Carolina the state that we all are proud to call home. But the state they love looks at them as criminals. We have a cancer patient that's handcuffed, holding marijuana in her hands as she looks out the window and sees her daughter on a playset, and says, as she looks in the camera, I am a criminal for doing whatever it takes to want one more day with my daughter. We have a veteran that's the same way, handcuffed, and looking into the camera and saying, I am a criminal for learning how to manage my PTSD. And that's always been my message, is that for too long, the state we love forces us to be criminals just to take a medicine that we know can help us. And it's time that we start talking about cannabis in a different light. And it's also time that we start realizing that the voice of the people doesn't always have to settle. I am in full support of Senate Bill 711. I have never said otherwise. I am not in support of the way it is written. 40 dispensaries for a state with 100 counties is not enough. Only letting those dispensaries operate in tier 1 counties is not fair. And taking things like chronic pain, glaucoma, all of that out of the qualifying conditions is causing good people to still die in the dark when they should be able to grow in the light. And that's my message, is I want people to call and email their representatives. I want them to be in favor of this bill, but be in favor for this bill written where we get the legalization we deserve for the state we love. The senators really have a chance to make history here. And I reach out to them, and have in the past. And my invitation still stands that I'm more than happy to talk with any of them at any time, because I want to be part of this moving forward to make sure that no one in North Carolina has to suffer the way that I have or other people have that have chronic conditions. I managed to get through a brain tumor scare 4 years ago that we could not identify as cancer without doing a full craniotomy. And I didn't want to spend 3 to 6 months recovering from a surgery if I only had possibly a year to live. So I decided to play the worst waiting game in the world and spent 3 months in a limbo, not knowing if my tumor was going to grow in size, not knowing if my speech was going to continue to fail, if my balance was going to continue to fail. I was blacking out in public, and I did my research, and I found an Indonesian scientist that had found success with high THC strains of cannabis, and how the cannabinoid receptors attach to the neurological receptors in brain trauma patients in regards to swelling. So I had to break the law every day, but through the use of medicinal cannabis, I was able to reduce the swelling in my brain where I did not need a surgery, and they were finally able to diagnose after the second MRI that since the tumor had not grown in size, it was not cancerous. And the reason that this cause is so passionate to me is I do believe that I'm still here so that no one else has to ever plan their funeral on their 40th birthday. That's not anything that I want anyone to go through. No one should have to make a list of their personal possessions and decide, who's going to get what, and what am I going to do about my debt? What am I going to do about my car loan? How are the people that I love going to, go on? No one should ever have to go through that. And I survived it. Some days I have better mental days than others, because I also have a lot of PTSD that I deal with my chronic pain and a number of other things I've been through in my life. But the main thing is that this is not a new game. There are people like me all throughout North Carolina. I'm not special when it comes to my conditions at all. There's plenty of people out there that are suffering much worse than me that can benefit from cannabis. I just happen to have a voice and an outlet through my many supporters where I can speak on their behalf until they have the strength to use their own voice. I would love if there was more people speaking up with me. And I encourage people to do that all the time. There's so many advocacy groups out there that can help. I volunteer with NC Normal, and I'd be more than happy to refer you to them for comment as well, because I'm not their spokesperson. I'm just a very, very passionate volunteer with them. But I also help out organizations like We Go High in Charlotte, Cruel Consequences in Virginia. I talk from time to time with Steve D'Angelo, who's with the Last Prisoner Project. I have always offered my support to any and every group out there. And I just want to keep this part of the conversation, because I don't feel like anyone should ever have to settle for anything other than what gives them the best chance at the most productive life they could ever have.